move we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Agenda is approved. Presentation of the proposed budget for 2013.
Okay, I had sent to everyone and posted on our website, I think it's down here, preliminary budget. This is the final revision. It's called a preliminary budget. I would also call it my proposed budget. And it's the budget, this is the budget hearing by law, which is the time when I present the budget. We answer all the questions that anyone may have, the board, take information, public comment period on the budget, anything you want to ask, anything you want to say. This is the time when we do it. And it's really an open conversation with the board to discuss the budget, to ask questions. You've had it in advance, a couple of times in different forms. And I have supporting documentation here, so if you want to see inside some of the decisions, I have some documents to help you see inside the decisions as well. I'll go through the actual proposed budget that I have here, pretty much, quick line by line in a way. And if you want to stop me at any point, please do. If you want to ask questions afterward, that's fine. If we want to go back to something and understand it better, that's fine too. At the end of this, we will be able to certify our levy, which we passed the resolution for at the last meeting, as to having had the budget hearing. And if the budget suits everybody, it can be adopted. Okay? So, what we have here, this 2012 budget was the original budget that you passed last year. It's straight down. You can see those simple round figures. The appropriation in January of 2012, look in this column right here, please. You go straight on down, you see those numbers. This is the budget that was adopted last year, after we straightened out some of the numbers in a June resolution. The only straightening out we did in June was not to increase, but to get things named properly, basically. And then we did a resolution in November, and this middle column represents the adjustments that we made in November to reflect, going right down this middle column here, to reflect, I could color it, but to reflect what kind of appropriation we actually needed to cover the expenses as they were unfolding. So this November resolution is an accurate estimation on my part as of mid-November of what our final, of a budget that will cover our final expenses in all these categories. And then, yes, Patsy.
Up on line 35, you mean personnel services or personal services?
I mean personal services, well, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but thanks for asking. It includes benefits and salaries. I don't think I calculated that. There, okay. So as of November, column D represents the actual history of this past year through November 15th and my expectations for final expenses in December with our vouchers. So based on that information and also based on our salary schedule, I then prepared the 2013 budget. The 2013 budget assumes a 1% tax increase in our general fund. You'll see that right here on line 9, $1,121,727 for the real and personal property tax. That is the number that you passed the resolution for at the November meeting. These numbers above the line represent special funds. We manage the Walnut Fund. The adjusted budget was $42,885. We spent about $8,200, which dropped down to 33 something. And then we'll be paying our fair share, as will the community college next year. So the budget that we need to have next year is the carryover of about 33,000 plus what we're going to be adding. So we budgeted 48,303. The beginning capital projects fund is pretty darn close to what we estimated from the very beginning of time. And it still could change because the investment money is, you know, it's a little hard to predict. But it looks like it's coming spot on to what we talked about way back in February and March. The USDA loan, maximum 2.3, that's what's applied for, and that's the number that we think we can handle, and that we think will cover all of our rural facilities projects. So the total for the other department funds is $5,976,236. I believe we're going to have an leftover money from this year, not $400,000 like you're used to, but more like $29,000. So I've called that a beginning fund balance. You know, it's hard to predict down to $8 and so on, but this is just how the number fell out. Something like that. So the beginning fund balance gets added to basically the general fund. So this is not general fund. This money here is all general fund, okay? So I'm going to go down to where we have a total. The total for the general fund from the beginning fund balance through the taxes, timber harvest, leasehold, and so on, all the way down, gives us $1,161,864. Now, Sandra asked me why I budgeted $9,000 for investment interest when we only had $1,000 last year and we have all that money in the bank. The answer is that this is the budget you adopted at the beginning of the year. The capital funds were not included. I did not include the capital funds in our revised budget because we are not spending the capital funds or budgeting them. So I left the number the same. Next year, even though our capital funds will go down as we build our facilities, we will still be receiving actual investment interest. And that I'm putting in there.
Thank you.
Okay. And then she also asked, oh, that's down somewhere else, okay. Donations, they could be anything. We get donations from our friends groups and so on and so forth, and then we spend them on summer reading kinds of things. That's just a random number. These are not the actual receipts for the year. This is the budget. And I can show you our receipts. I have that file in here also. And we can look at that at any point you want to look at it. What our actual revenues are. And then the other miscellaneous. I would guess that all these here together will total about $40,000, as you can see. Well, no, about 30,000. No, even less. It's going to be more than you're seeing here, because I think I've got that 29 in there. The beginning cash balance. How do I find out where my formula is, John?
You have to hit escape to go back to
Okay.
the full view. It's not in there.
No, it's not. No, wait. I'm up there again.
You want
Just a minute. E9.
Yeah, you want E8.
Okay, that's fine. So there is about 40,000 in here. And then we have that in addition. Okay. It doesn't matter, it still gets budgeted, but, because I have it all the way at the bottom. Okay. I'll show you what I've done with that carryover. I've actually put some of it into contingency and some of it into the architect, because with all of the property work he's been doing for us, it exceeds what we originally budgeted. So I use the carryover essentially for that. So if you take the other department funds and you add together with our general fund revenues, you're gonna get total budgeted revenues of that. And now I need to find out if I've got the E in there. Otherwise, it's gonna be a little higher. E7.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got total other departments and everything
Yeah,
else.
that's the right number now.
Okay. I don't think it is
Now,
though.
the fish and wildlife, did they give us some?
Yeah.
Because of the, right next to, I mean, it's because of the Burbank location, isn't it?
No, it's the whole county.
Oh, it's the whole county?
It's the whole county.
Oh,
Whatever.
it's not for this refuge, because of the refuge being there?
Well, it could be, it's for any, lovely. We've only gotten started.
I don't know if you've
Sorry about
ever
that.
had an exact
Well, how is he doing? Is it-
description of what
Yeah,
that need is covering.
he'll be fine.
Oh,
He just needs some antibiotics.
good.
All right.
I'm seriously just getting started.
Okay, good.
Gone through.
All right.
Your time, take a breath.
Yeah, all I've done, Andrea, is speak through the revenues and how this is the budget that you adopted at the very beginning of last year with Punky's budget.
Mhm.
And then we adjusted it
Yep,
in November.
and there's
And-
the new, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. And I said I
First
do
time on the
have,
first page.
I do have a spreadsheet that shows what our actual history of expenses are,
Okay.
if we need to see that. So I just took our experience, and this was predicated on our presumed experience, and I took that and then the salary increases and so on, and projected these numbers, and I can show you how all these numbers were arrived at if you want. I think this is probably low, and if we get any grants at all, they will be adopted by resolution for a specific purpose. Like last year, we got the early learning grant, but it never got adopted, and the money that we spent on it came out of programs, or it came out of service center books, or all kinds of places. We never really captured it in one place. I'm sorry.
I don't know, that's really, I think is that music as cold as it is outside?
They need to turn this thing off. Like totally.
Just-
Power off. I'm just powering it off. I can't deal with it. And then, Andrea, this is what I presume to be a cash carryover, beginning fund balance. Okay, and you're right, Josh. I managed to capture that in because I did a full run. So this is our total budgeted revenues in all categories. Okay, do you have any questions about the revenues?
Now, we haven't had a book sale for quite a while, it's just stuck there, I mean, it's,
Well, here's the thing. These are the categories that I inherited.
yeah.
We actually do have a little bit of money posted against book sale, because every now and then a book gets sold out of the service center. And we just send it over to the treasurer and identify it as book sale. Because ordinarily in the branches, the friends do the book sales, and then they put the money in their checking accounts and buy all the things for summer reading and other good things. So every now and then. So I left it there simply because it was there. We can refine these categories later, and we can refine it when I work with Susan to get that other presentation. But I'm trying to make it look as much like you're used to as possible. So,
Well, if we eliminated book sale and then somebody bought a book,
yeah, but it could
then
go,
what do you
it could
do
go
with it?
into donations, or it could go
Okay.
into other, it could go into
Okay.
miscellaneous income. It could go into a lot of crazy places, so, yeah, but we'll just need to
Well,
noodle that.
that
as
one
long as
crazy
they've got
place.
it already.
Yeah.
I just don't remember we ever had a real book sale.
The personal services, is based on the salary, the 5-step salary schedule that, you adopted way back in, March or April. And also, I've added a 1% cost of living increase to that. Andrea asked me, how it would be sustainable into the future. And so I sent you all a projection for not only 6 years, but then 2 more after that. And you'll see by the 6th year, it's like 1% or less, and then it's 1%, 1%, 1%. Because by that time, every member of the staff is at the top of their salary scale. So, I'm gonna find that for you.
Well, there'll be new people that won't be at the top,
That's right, which means it'll be less.
less.
because they're starting at the
'Cause
bottom.
they'll be at the
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's maximum. That's a maximum.
So, is this the time to discuss that idea, or no? Should we do that?
The idea.
Well, I have a few hesitations. I know we adopted it, but I've thought about it more. But either way, it doesn't going to affect the budget, so we could discuss
No, it's not, no.
that another time.
No, it's the salary schedule. This, see by the year 2017, the increase is 95%. And then if you take the, oh, that's not it either.
That's just the 1%, or no, wait.
Well, that's just the 1 year. I swear. See, this is a
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, in the season.
detailed projection. Yeah, and then I had a short-term projection, but, where's that? Whoop. What is that?
You can just click yes, that's fine.
Yeah,
If it messes it up, I'll fix it later.
yeah.
So the item that you're talking about has something to do with salary schedule.
Yeah, the 5-step thing,
Sustainability.
it's not necessarily something we can
No.
discuss tonight.
Okay,
We can deal with it
look
later.
at that
Yeah.
one, look at that one. So there you have 2013, and you have it's what it is, it's what you see in the budget. 2014, it's a 10% increase. 2015, it's a 4.5% increase. 2016, it's a 3.5% increase. 27 is a 2% increase. By 2018, it's at more or less 1%. And then after that, it's 1%, 1%, if everybody stays on staff, and if you give a 1% cost of living. And as I've said before, in this current tax-limited environment, giving more than a 1% cost of living is just eating the goose that laid the golden egg, because if you give 2 and 3% cost of living, you're just going to erode all your other balances. Because we got this staffing thing, which shows the step schedule, and then with this one, I have just taken the step schedule and increased it. Say,
Can you go
here-
back to the third one you just opened? Not the colorful one.
Not that
It
one?
has the 800,000, the grand total.
The last one, yeah.
This one?
Yeah,
What?
2018, yep,
There.
right, yeah.
With benefits in
With benefits.
2020. Well, let's just go 2018.
But if you take the percent of the general fund budget, it tops out at 61% for full staff at full step. And if you remember.
So
the-
you were adding the 1% in over there on annual revenues, I see it. Yeah.
Absolutely, right down the line. The 1% on the revenues,
Yes.
the 1%,
So what is the
I just
difference
plan on going that
between
way.
what we're paying now and what it will be then? 200,000 more, 250,
150.
230,000 more?
8 years away.
175. Say 175.
Okay. I'm trying to squint.
But
Okay,
you'll
yeah.
have increased tax
Here,
money.
girl.
Well, the taxes
Oh.
are down here. The tax revenues will increase by about $80,000.
Get-
That's with no new construction and no new.
Exactly.
And
This
so
is-
you-
this is-
That's right.
and
This
we-
is very
that's kinda very
conservative.
conservative.
And this is as high, as big as it gets,
Big.
you know? This is top of the
Yeah.
line for everybody, just increasing
Why
everybody
would you stay?
by the steps. So it is sustainable,
Would you like to-
is my point. It is sustainable. It is sustainable.
But it's also not set in concrete, so that if you wanted to do something different.
Nothing is set in concrete, Patsy.
That's what I mean.
A board can
Right.
do
That's what I'm
whatever they
saying, the
want.
board-
Yeah.
and
Right.
The board could
We
do
can
Right,
revisit, we can
but-
revisit it, but we don't need to for this budget.
No.
So let's
No,
move
but
on.
this, but I would remind you that this is based on best practices throughout the state, and just about everybody in the world works with this.
Right, okay.
And that's how you manage to let your employees know what's happening, keep it fair, and you don't have to deal with the union complaints because you're already treating them decently. And this is how it's done. And every one of these, if you'll recall, our work back in March and April is based on the median average for the state for similar demographic jurisdictions. So if you go down, you're going under your peer group, and if you go up, you're going over your peer group. This is a valid structure. And I've tried to make it fair, and I've tried to show you how, once we make the commitment to our staff, it becomes sustainable over time.
Okay.
Okay.
But we also would hope by then, we're getting new construction and higher
Sure.
taxes.
I think we have as I said, I didn't fool anybody. I budgeted this just low. I mean, this is low. This is guaranteed.
Yeah, that's what you want.
That's guaranteed. And this is pretty much fixed. This isn't fixed, but as you saw this year, we have a lot of flexibility on how we save money. So this will probably be 10,000 or 15,000 less than I have even budgeted, because 20,000 of that money is actually, or 21,000 of it is actually a liability we're holding. And every staff member would have to be sick to the max for it to cost us. So already we're 21,000 less on this number,
Right.
okay?
Alrighty.
Already then. So, so
Hold on.
here we
So
are.
done with the front page.
Yes, it's, we're back to the front page. I only gave you a copy of the budget. All these other documents are just here. Because
Okay.
otherwise you'd just be swimming in paperwork. And you've received copies of most of this at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the regular pay that in our adjusted budget was $365. And I think at this point I want to show you how I come up with these numbers. Because it'll let you see 2012 expenses full analysis. Okay. So here's how we come up with this. This is the year. This is your year. You started out in January with this budget. In June, we changed a couple of the numbers because the professional services was in a strange place. We didn't have the contract with the city in a place, we didn't have a budget where they were taking it from. And also, we had two lines of uncategorized. So in June, we just squared that away. In November, which is over here, projection for November revision, which you did adopt. In November, we went through every single solitary line and adjusted it according to history. And here's the history. Right here is your current history. Year-to-date expenditures, there's your staff, there's your whatever. Other benefits, there's your medical, dental, life, social security, and retirement. These are actual numbers. Year-to-date expenditures. This is the resolution, which is higher than year-to-date because I anticipated our December expenditures right here. Okay? So that's your full analysis for the year. And these are the percentages spent in each category. So when you get to the bottom, you see that you've got $90,000 for December vouchers. And I expect it to be less. I've done another projection in here. End of year projection. You'll see here that we've already received our taxes, revenues. This is the one that I had estimated at 358, came in at 369. This is there are only two left. This one I expect at about 88, and this one's less than 4, which would give us our total tax revenues. And then our other revenues, everything that's in black is already received. And then our investment revenues. This is our totals. These are our general fund operations to date. It includes this much money, $163,593 in professional services. You've already seen this before. This is included in this number. I only broke it out so you see how much money was spent that is not spent next year on these kinds of things. And then the Walla Walla contract, the uncategorized, and so on. Here's where I got that $29,278 for cash carryover. And then this is a separate category, what we spent on the architect. And there's the walnut. And these are the details on what we spent on whom. Okay? So you've seen that before, but that's where I'm getting these numbers. So, going back to our main budget. Our regular pay, based on the salary schedule I just showed you, for next year, at full staffing, is $489,249. Now you'll recall this $365 that we're spending this year does not include a director. Because I've been acting as a director, and my salary or my earnings come out of professional services. So if you added what was Punky's salary to this $365, you would be up around, with her benefits, you'd be only $20,000 less than this number. And yet we've expanded staff, we've expanded hours, we've given people the proper remuneration in their category of service and expertise. So we've straightened out the whole thing and added some hours and are still not spending all, that we might have. The other benefits, you'll see 14,000 here. Sandra brought this to my attention. I had to up the number from 51 in the original budget to 14 in our revision, and yet I'm only budgeting 77. The reason for that is that this 14 includes all of that unemployment money we had to pay to the employee whom we let go.
Are we
Over
done?
$8,000.
Are we done with that yet?
I think we're done. There may be another 3, but I think we're done.
3 payments, 3 months.
3,000.
I was thinking 3 months. Come on.
Yeah, that end of year thing.
We gotta be getting close to being done.
I think we might be done. I just,
In a year? It's
yeah.
been about a year.
Yeah?
I think I left some money in the budget though to cover it, so if it's not done. I'm looking back here at what we've actually spent on other benefits, that's line 7. Line 7, other benefits, year-to-date is 13,390, no, it's my expectation that we're done. Because there's only 610 left, so I think I've concluded that we're done.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
That's annoying.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to this. So, the medical, dental, life. Originally in January, budget 88,000. It was just a throwaway number. You only spent 54.2, and that's after we have added benefits for people who didn't have them because they didn't have the hours to earn the benefits. And I'd like to remind everybody, and the public as well, that we were having a next to impossible time scheduling because nobody was allowed to work enough hours to earn benefits, which meant that when we had a need for somebody to be somewhere, they couldn't go. So we got all that straightened out. I've budgeted 88,000 again, but if you'll recall, our premiums are 77,000, and then we're at risk for about 21. And to spend the 21, everybody'd have to be sick to the max, over $2,000.
Is that what you call
Everybody.
self-insured?
Yeah, it's a high deductible,
High deductible.
and we're infilling the deductible between 200 and 750. And then we're paying the 80 of the 80/20 on the extra up to the annual max. And we're still saving money, and the employee is saving money as well. So it's a win-win.
They have to be quite pleased with that.
Well, they all like it. Don't they? Hmm?
Yeah, no, I went through it over on paper over the weekend, and you have a higher deductible, but you're not paying anything out of your paycheck that month.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Right.
well, with the plan I had, when I
Okay.
insured myself at the highest level, I was paying about $70 out of pocket. And that goes away with the lower plan, but the district picks, it ends up working out. You go through it
Right.
backwards and forwards, and it works, that it's cheaper for us and cheaper for them.
Right.
We're only exposing ourselves to the actual costs that employees incur, rather than paying them at the max every single month when they don't incur anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that you say you were paying in a deduction on the paycheck, but I discovered when I went to the benefit fair that that if you cover an employee, you have to cover the dental, vision, and so on. And yet, we were only paying as a district for the employee's life. Therefore, they were forced to pay that extra. It wasn't a choice. Now we're paying the whole thing and everybody's saving money. So I just popped in 88,000 again. It's halfway between 77 and 98. So I expect we'll save money on that, but if we don't, it's budgeted. You get down. She's been out. Social Security, that's just .0765 times our salary. Easy. Retirement, we were down to .708, but now we're back up to .721 again. Very modest, by the way. A lot better than Oregon. Total benefits, then, and total personal services, which I want you to see is .56 of 56% of our general fund budget. And that's important because we're trying to stay within E35 by 23, that's right, the general fund budget. Because best practices says that you can pay up to 60, you can pay between 65 and 70% of your annual operating budget for personal services, and 30 to 35% is for materials and services and other uses. That's why when on that 2019, it was up to 65.8% at top staffing, at top step. I thought that was a really good number because it's 65.8, which is at the very low end between 65 and 70.
So you say best practices is
65 to 70. It's 65 in spread out rural districts like us, and it's 70 in dense urban libraries like Seattle and Vancouver and so on, because they have more professional staff. They hire more MLSs. They have more intense administrative stuff. Fewer desk clerks, more depth of professional services. So that's where the 70% comes in. So those numbers I showed you, where we top out with top staffing dollar at 65.8, is very, very good and sustainable. And that includes adding.
Adding staff.
Huh?
That includes adding staff?
Yes, I've
Right.
added some hours to staff we already have and calculated them, so that either that staff can then grow into, to additional duties at County Central, or the money that would be spent on them can be spent on clerks. So it's all built in. Okay, the rest of this is pretty easy. Oh, by the way, this pay includes only 8 months of a director. That's why that first year's jump is bigger. Is because you're adding another 33% to the new director's salary. See here, director at 8 months is $50,120 instead of 6411, which is what it would be. This was last. Oh well, okay, whatever. But anyway, that's why you have that bigger jump there in between what I budgeted for 2013 and 2014. That accounts for some of that percentage, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so then you get to the easier part, office and operating. If you want to look at the actual expenditures on any of these, I'd be glad to show you. But if you look at this column D, the number that's there from our resolution at our last meeting represents what I expect to be the maximum expense for the year based on expenses year to date. So it's very close to the same number. If you want to see the actual that we spent to date, I can go back to that other file. Professional services, that's me. And I'm budgeting here for 4 months. I might be out in 2, I might be out in 3. If it's more than 4, you're gonna have to figure it out, but then you wouldn't be paying for a director. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, basically. Communications, phone, OCLC, these are all just the same. Walnut membership, up 10 to 10,650. It's still less than before, isn't it, Josh?
Mhm.
Yeah. You can see you budget 20,000 at the beginning of the year, just whammo, like, oh well. So this is what it's really gonna cost you. Postage, I left it the same because we haven't overspent it. We're using less and less. Since we are now a member of Orbis, we'll probably take the Orbis contract, out of this or something. So we'll see. Travel is what it is, and that's what we spend. Advertising, don't have to spend a lot.
Excuse me,
yeah.
the travel, is that also the courier service?
That's not the courier Orbis, that is Josh on the courier.
The
Yeah,
mileage
and it's
reimbursement.
the local mileage reimbursement for.
Yeah.
Exactly,
For
exactly, which is what,
For staff.
$500-600 a month?
On a full month, it can be at 55.5 cents.
Exactly, and we're, at the next board meeting, we're gonna bring to you a proposal for saving money on that. Rentals and leases and utilities, I want to explain this to you. I think I've said it before, but you really need to understand this so you're not frightened by it. We now rent this building and also Plaza. The utilities for our branches, right here, 75, 22, and 36, I have not budgeted. Because instead of, we will be identifying the cost for each branch once the new facilities are built, but right now, it's kind of an irrelevant number. But, this money, plus what we're now paying in rentals of $35,000, will be pulled together into this $50,000 number. Now, we will have to continue paying Plaza for, I think we've got 3 more years on it. Yeah, and if we get County Central built by next fall, we will have 2 more years of obligation on that lease, unless they sublease it, which they probably will. But, that being said, it's assumed it's subleased so that we're not paying Plaza rental and we're not paying this rental. At that point, the $50,000 doesn't go for rentals, it goes for utilities for everybody, all around the clock. Utilities at County Central, utilities for all the other branches. Now, I know this number is gonna work. And the reason I know this number is gonna work is because of the place that I came from, where I did the budgets and all of that. And that, I just have to show you this so you believe. Okay?
Do
This
we
is,
look like we don't believe?
no. No, it's just that I'm trying to anticipate the questions that are fearful for people. You know,
I'm
why,
not afraid.
why'd you pick that weird number?
Are you-
If you take the utilities for Baker County Library District, it has 6 branches. Its main library is over 18,000 square feet. And it has 6 branches, 5 in addition to the main one. And we're gonna have 4 and a main one. And their total utility bill is $45,000. I had it, but now I've lost it. Total utilities bill, $45,045.
Okay.
And those facilities are 2,400 square feet for the branches, about what we're looking at. So, it'll work. But it would be crazy for me to try to predict a utility cost for a building that's not built. And they will be built, and they will be built efficiently, which means that the utility costs will be efficient. More efficient than, say, the Lions Club building, or, of course, we're not paying that one, you know, but,
But it's not an efficient one.
No.
yeah. But you see, that's what I used to find that number,
Okay.
okay?
Mhm.
Okay, insurance is what it is. The utilities, I have put into the rentals as I just explained.
Okay.
The repairs and maintenance for the branches. I have put all that money together into one number, and then it'll get spent as it's needed. We don't know what has to be repaired because we're building new facilities. Okay, the uncategorized has ceased to exist. The Burbank Learners Grant never got budgeted. Somebody spent money out of it that went into our monthly report, so I had to appropriate $100 to cover that small expense. The Learners Grant is over, it's not budgeted. Professional development is staff. If there's anything that might be underfunded, just tell me now and we'll just take it out of contingency or something. But $8,000 was budgeted, we've spent $3,500 to date. And that includes our 2 employees that went to the whale conference, and some travel by our collection development manager. And can you think of things that, and also our professional development day, all of the mileage and the extra staff hours. Well, no, not the hours, the mileage, because I told her to put it in that.
Did someone do the Western Library Association? Not Whale,
No.
but, no, okay.
Nobody did. I looked at it and it looked really crummy.
With the new director coming though, they're probably gonna be more likely to be attending some of these
You might
things
wanna
that you
put more
didn't
money
attend.
They will, but I wouldn't pay for them to go to ALA until you really,
Know that it's worthwhile.
until you know that they need to.
Yeah.
It could be
It's
a
a big
boondoggle and
expense.
it costs a fortune.
Yeah.
But Josh will need to go to Waldo things.
Yeah, possibly.
So, so we might want to just put that back to 8,000 and drop 4 off the contingency. When I kept looking at that number, I kept thinking, it's kind of small.
Well, what if you did 6 or something?
Could, but I could change that right now, you know?
It's the, Waldo's the support group for our library software.
Oh, very important.
They do have a get together, they do a lot of webinars that are totally free.
Okay.
Once a year they do a conference somewhere.
Okay.
Sometimes it's way back in New York and they're really, really good about live webcasting things, so sometimes you don't even have to go.
Okay.
But it's
I was-
out there.
Yeah, I didn't
Well-
know, I didn't know where Waldo was.
And lots of
Hate to say
times, you know,
that.
when you have to network with people that are actually developing things side by side with you, where it's an actual creative development, it's really necessary to be there.
Collaborative, yeah.
But you see, Josh has been around long enough, doing this long enough, that if he says he has to go, he has to go. But there are people who will come in and take this job, and they'll say, well, I got to go to ALA, and I got to go to this, and I got to go to that, and trust me, they don't, not unless they can convince you. Don't believe that they have to do it all.
I think we all that have been in professional positions have been to some, yeah,
I know a director
bad.
who goes to
Conferences.
ALA and PLA and our own Oregon Library Association and arrives and eats the meals and never goes to a thing. And
That's sad.
It's a
yeah, if
vacation.
that person worked for me, I'd fire him, but nobody's tumbled to it. So that's all
I
I'm
guess
saying.
we'll-
But
I think that perhaps needs to be up, so.
if I pop, I think it should be.
If we're
And
gonna do
if I
that-
pop that up, I will reduce this contingency by 4. Okay? And that contingency's just sitting there, that's money we'll talk about. So let me go ahead and, do you want me to do that? Make it 8 or
Yep.
6 or
Yeah.
what?
I think it's a little low.
Huh?
Yep.
Oh, you want a number? Let's just go back to 8.
I want a number,
8.
Have an 8.
yeah.
Don't spend it, it's still there.
That's true, but on the other hand, I mean, that's what happened at the beginning of last year, you had a clue what you had, what you were spending.
Right.
So I'll adjust it when I get down to the bottom. Organizational dues is fine. Database. This is new. We have included the databases last year, which we funded at 10,000 in our November. I mean at 16.5, because we got some really cool databases. And so we end up spending 16.5 for the databases last year. But databases are now going to be budgeted under print and electronic materials, the content databases, the ones that have information for the public, the ones that are remotely accessible. They're going to go into print and electronic materials, which has jumped up to $125,000. Up from 16 plus 8 plus 2 plus 5 plus 8 plus, okay? Which is something like $58,000.
So that means you're not buying reference books anymore.
Well,
Pretty much.
not much, we're not, no. So, that money, I've budgeted over here as a brand new amount of money for our technology manager to use for things like software management, replacement machines, things like that.
So that's why you put it technology instead of databases.
I
You're
did, that's
renaming
right.
it. You're
I
renaming it.
renamed it, and in the new budget, it will be called technology. because the new budget is going to be put into, this format, so that we can track it detailed. It's not gonna look like the one that we're adopting. I'm gonna redo it so that everything is tracked.
How often do we have to refresh our databases? I mean, once we've, bought the basic database, how often do they need to be? Every
Well,
year?
As far as content? Or-
Yeah, I mean,
The software that
would
runs
we
it.
expect to have to pay that amount every year?
Yeah,
It's a subscription.
it's,
Oh,
And-
okay,
and
thank
Paying
you.
that every year, they maintain it, you'll get articles daily that show up in those, yeah.
Okay,
The evaluation
so
we
it
would
just
do-
keeps it refreshed, I mean,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, we're paying
They
for the
refresh it
access and
daily.
the updates.
I mean,
yeah.
like World Book.
So you got the World Book, and instead of, letting it 2 or 3 years, then you have to go buy another one every day.
Yeah.
it
It's
gets
refreshed.
upped. Oh.
Yeah, so
Okay, I
that
didn't play
is
around
gonna
on
go
those.
into print and electronics, because as Patsy said, we're not spending money on these huge encyclopedias and replacing them for every branch and so on. So,
All right.
okay, so that 15,000 is a fine new piece of money. This uncategorized, which is the second one, has also gone away. The only reason there's money budgeted in it right now is because when we did a voucher, it got posted to either this uncategorized or that uncategorized. We stopped doing it, but I had to appropriate enough money to cover what we'd already spent. Intergovernmental professional services had been budgeted 188,408, which was what we offered, and we settled at 245 in December, and that is what the contract with the city came out of, and it's not budgeted for next year. Book processing material, that's a given. These are the books. These are the different, like Burbank is here, and Plaza is here, and Tushy, and so on. The programs are separate. So you add those together, you come up with 52 or 56,000 or something like that, and what we've done is doubled it. And that becomes 12% of our operating budget, which is best practices, 12 to 15%. Some years you're down to 11 or 10, if it gets below 10, you're not really doing what you're there to do. 12 is good, all over the state, people are hitting 12. Good libraries are hitting 12. So that's a standard that you want to try to meet. And not, the easiest thing to take money from when you're balancing a budget is books. And if you nibble away at it and don't stick with standards, you're gonna find that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Programs, we've upped it from 5 to 10. We spent 8,500 this year, and that's because everybody was doing all these fabulous programs. And they asked to do them, they wanted to do them, and that's what we want to do. So we upped it to 10,000. Equipment maintenance repair, I did the same dang thing. I took all the different little branches and the amounts of money that were budgeted for them. And this is the revised budget because this is based on reality. And budgeted 25,000 to cover them all. And then when the needs start coming in, that's where it comes from. And then it gets posted. So our total materials and services in the general fund is $350,950. That's 30% of your annual operating budget, which is right there at the best practices I told you. Now that's 30%, which isn't going to change a whole lot. You'll remember that the personal services is only at 56, and it's going to grow over the next 8-9 years to about 65 or 66%. So, so the money that goes toward that comes either from growth or it comes from these kinds of things. This is right now 14, the other use is about 14% of the budget. That includes a loan repayment over 40 years. That's the maximum at the maximum square footage that we're looking at. The property annual payments is a place taker. We have no commitment on this. This is money in case we have to purchase property over a long-term fixed mortgage rate. Maybe we don't have to. Maybe that won't happen. The operating contingency is what I have to take $4,000 out of. Let's see if I came up with the right number. I should,
Drum roll.
yeah. Well, let's see, let's look at the bottom line, 7167378. Yeah, there it is. So, okay. So, there's your total general fund, which includes $500,000 of a contingency annual carryover that is not a contingency to go out and repair buildings with unless you are in crisis mode. And it's not money to be, it's there for your protection and for things that you deem absolutely critical. But mostly, it's there as an ongoing carryover so that the district can pay its bills until the taxes come in. Otherwise, you end up borrowing money. Walnut Management Fund is budgeted separately. The Capital Projects Fund will be budgeted separately. The architect, the buildings, capital. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions or suggestions from the board, or do it however you want to do it.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
On the equipment maintenance and repair, we've had some branches that were having trouble, like Burbank, we were having some problems with. And because of their expenses being so high, you were able to see that happening. I think, will you still feel that the director managing expenses will still be able to track when expenses are higher in one branch than another needed to be looked at?
Right, except that whether we divide up the equipment maintenance and so on by branch per se, or whether we just have the district equipment and repair budget.
Yeah, I think it's fun, but I'm saying,
Category
that-
detail.
that
You
We
can have
category-
got a
you
red
can have a
flag
category
on
on
Burbank,
Burbank,
and figured
you-
out that the electric was coming in, the emergency
yeah.
electric was
Oh,
coming
yeah,
on. And we didn't know
absolutely.
that except for the percentages.
But you'd have a
Right.
category detail report, so it would be there.
Well, yeah, that's why we track it during the year, but also, usually you know those things in advance, and if you have a crisis in one area, you might not have it in the other area, because that 25,000 number is a number that's not spent. It's basically a contingency for repairs.
But in the report at each meeting, will we see the detail of each on the spreadsheet, or it'll just come out of the general?
Oh, you'll see it on this one.
Your,
on that
and
one.
your fancy one will show it by Burbank.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And if we were further along, or next year or something like that, you'd be adopting this budget.
Right,
Okay, because we're gonna go to that format. Okay, good.
which is way more detailed than this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you
Because-
can shorten that down to this one, so we can look at overall.
Oh, I think so, yeah. I've actually got it short in here somewhere. The thing is that one is a really good, clear thing for overview, and it's good for
Right.
adopting. But, as you can see, I've had to go in and out of a lot of different databases in order to show you how we derive those things. And here, you would have previous year's budgets and expenses month by month and that kind of thing. So once I get to this and, refine it, then you'll be able to see what's happening.
Right, okay.
Very good presentation. At this time, public comment on the budget we would take? Yes.
I'm Beth Call, 102 Otis, Walla. I understand that the goal of the Rural Library District is to provide full-scale, high-quality library services to their constituents, and that's why the constituents pay their property taxes. And so I assume that you're concerned that, I just found out now that you're expecting to complete your library by the fall, but that still leaves, what, 9 months, 10 months, when your constituents won't have access to a full-service library. And I was wondering if you would reconsider contributing a proportional sum to the Walla City Library so that the people, especially in fire districts 4 and 8, would not have to do without full library services during that time.
You want to respond?
No, me.
We
Well,
have,
let's get all
we
the
have
comments
Plaza Branch, have you been?
Beth,
Yeah, I have been.
That's why we're saying full-service library, because that is not one.
what services are you,
Books!
What do you,
I want to be able to check out books. And Burbank does not have a
Burbank?
excuse me, the Plaza branch does not have a collection of books that suits my needs.
well,
We have a
Okay,
computer, we have
Yeah.
Wallnet, where you can order all sorts of
I
stuff.
choose my books by looking at them.
Okay.
there are a lot of
Okay.
good books there, and you
I've
have
been
access to all of our
what
books.
kind of books are you not finding?
The ones that you're going to put in your new library.
Hopefully.
Well,
Right.
I mean, can you give me a specific?
Well, I mean, that would be kind of a broad question to think of all the desires. and
Well,
needs
I'm
of
not
all
asking for the
people.
whole, just give me, are you looking for a certain author?
Oh, I'm looking for the children's programs, I'm looking for the community speakers and book club type things.
The
and I'm
rural
looking-
people, Beth, can go to all those things.
That's right.
The only challenge, if they want to look at it as a challenge, is to check out books and to use the computers. That you need a card for that. Everything else, they can go to.
And do you think that's fair, that they can go to those and not be paying the city library any money at all for their attendance at those things? I mean, now they come
it's fair
because they
'cause
have
We
cards.
have paid for so many years.
Well,
and
I
it
go to the
hasn't been
Richland
fair.
Library often, and I don't pay for it. And I go to the Kennewick Library, and I do pay for it. It happens all over the country.
All over the
Every library in America, when we're on vacation, we stop in libraries. In fact, we just went to one this weekend in Portland, but we don't pay for that. So, yes, I do think it's fair that anyone can go to any program at that library. You just can't check out books. And in fact, in the Kennewick one I pay for, I still can't request books, even though I pay.
If I go and purchase items in the city of Walla Walla, as a rural person, my sales tax that I pay on, some of that, I hope, is crawling its way into the library fund.
Okay, so
$900,000 or so.
I was excited to find that the city found, what,
$120,000.
$120,000 somewhere.
That's by using their bank levy and their levy appropriation.
and
And that has
Good.
not been approved yet.
Okay.
It's been,
so you feel that your needs will be adequately met at the Plaza Branch Library? That's has everything you desire in a library, is that correct?
It's
No,
temporary, that's why
it's a
we're building.
temporary situation.
Well,
It's a temporary solution
Right.
until we get the
Exactly.
main library built.
Right, but it seems like during that time, it would be nice if people had access to the full library. For one thing, jobless people or homeless people, those are the only computers that they can use to find jobs, just for example. You know?
We have
No,
computers
computers.
at Plaza.
Great computers, very
All
fast.
new.
I
internet.
wonder if you have enough to meet the demand, and I know the ones at the Walla Walla Public Library are pretty much always in use.
Well, if it turns out we don't have enough to
We
meet the
had some.
demand, then we can shift our resources.
Plus, we're open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Josh, would you share with the board the calculation you did on how much we're paying per user at the public library for this year? What it works out to?
It was right around $200 a person that got a card.
There you go.
but how many cards were you considering in that?
as
The number that Beth emailed you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but was that the number that you gave at last month's meeting? Because I went and asked about that, and the number that you gave at last month's meeting was only for the last 4-month period. That
Okay.
is not the total number of cards that have been issued to
Okay.
county residents.
Well, if we had the total number of cards, we'd know what the cost
Yeah,
was.
I mean, you need, you can get the total number of cards from Jane. When Jane sent you those figures, she sent you the figures only of cards that had been issued
I
since.
think it came from Beth to you.
It came
Well,
from Beth
Because
to
Jane,
me,
Jane
and it was
might be-
unsolicited, and I had no reason to know why she was sending it to me, and I presume she was giving me a number. I don't know why she would give me a quarterly number, because we don't have any business to do together anymore. So when she gave me a number, I simply presumed it was
Oh, okay.
the number
Well,
of cards
I went
issued
back
for
and
the year.
asked, and she said, well, it was that, the number that you said at the last meeting was only for the last 4
What'd I
to
say,
6 months.
1,100?
No,
You
you
said
said
something
8.
about
No, I
8 to
said
9.
8 plus the children.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
832 plus 257 or something for the kids.
no.
So it's about 1,100, and the 1,100 is the number I gave you, that you divided into what we're paying. And that's where you get the 200 and some. So,
Right, okay, but I don't think that is the total number of cards that have been
well,
issued to county
I would
residents.
suggest, to Jackie that it wouldn't be for the quarter either.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly, you know, I mean,
because it's too high a number for a quarter.
well,
So,
I think it had probably maybe included the summer registrations for the kids. I don't.
I have no
just-
idea, but I know it's been averaging out between 17 and 18,
Yeah.
well, thousand, right?
1,700 to
800.
800. For
Right, and
last
if you're saying 1,100
10
for a
years?
quarter, that just doesn't,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, but,
Anyway,
We can find
be
out.
that as it may,
We can get
if it were 1,700, it'd be, 136.
which is about what they pay in taxes.
No, it's about double what he was paying taxes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, anyway, I just wanted that number to be, related to the service that one receives for the price, is all. And the Plaza Library does have computers, it's got high-speed internet, it's open 7 days a week. It's got great books, new books, and it's got access to, what do we have now, 82,000 books in our system, and we run the courier twice a week, which means that you can get anything you want within the week.
And 40,000 at CC.
Yeah, and 40,000 at the community college, which is also available to anybody who lives in our jurisdiction and pays taxes. So you have access to as many books as you do at the public library. Literally. So,
Okay, I have a couple other questions about the budget.
sure.
Every other department in the county is taking serious cuts. There are no cuts in this budget.
I would like to respond to that. The cuts were previous with staffing, very, very static. They had no cost of living increases for several years, and they didn't have benefits. And the cuts that were in place in the past created a very large carryover, which is now our capital money. So there are not cuts here, there is reality and a strong, solid, realistic budget, and there are cuts in that we're saving money on our benefit structure. We're just not dropping the money because we have a better way of doing it.
Okay, but you did ask for the levy increase. The other thing that I want to
Of course we do.
say is that with your preliminary budget, you're showing paying back that loan at $124,000 a year over 40 years.
Mm-hmm,
That comes out to $4,960,000
So,
of taxpayer money that they will never have voted on. And the loan is only for $2.3 million, and you will have paid back $4.9 on a $2.3 million budget. That seems to me very extravagant.
It's like a home.
Yeah.
We all do that.
You know what, no, there's not another department in the county that can go out and take a loan to build a building or to
They-
improve.
They'll pass bonds, that's how they'll
Yes,
do it.
yes, they pass bonds, they have people who vote on the expenditure of the money. Nobody's voting on this expenditure.
We don't have to, we can cover it with the money that's been
They already
voted.
voted.
Mhm.
Well,
And it's-
10% of your operating budget goes back for it, and you're paying back
We're,
$2.6 million more than you borrowed.
all I can really say is that you do that with a bond too, and the people vote it, and you still pay that kind of money to the banks. What I'd like to say is that the people have given the district money to provide them services, and this plan provides them outstanding services with the money that's been provided. And you are always going to pay interest, whether it's a bond or a loan, when you do capital construction.
This method we can pay out of our existing revenues without asking them to increase taxes or
That's
bond.
right.
I realize that, but look at how much more you're paying back from 2.3 to 4.96. That's a lot of money over a 40-year period. I mean, that's 2 generations.
Jackie, they will also have had a wonderful library
That's right.
to use over those 40 years.
That's right.
I think, you know.
Otherwise, you could spend 20 years saving the money, and people could just go without for 20 years.
Just leave it at the plaza for 20 years until we save it
Yeah.
up.
That's not how,
But
that's
we
not
just are getting
how,
messages that that's not adequate.
that's not how institutions work, you know? They use their funding in creative ways to provide the services that they were charged with providing. And we're not asking the taxpayers for any more money, so.
Karen, you had something you want to say?
I understand at this point that the city has not determined they're offering cards. If they do, I see nothing in the budget where you would be covering that. Are you not considering covering the cost of the cards for the year that we will not have access to a full-service library?
We haven't made a decision not to, but we haven't heard that they would even have it as an option.
December 5th is when they've said that they'll make that announcement.
Their budget shows 0 anticipated revenue
Right.
for 2013.
Just as yours shows 0 anticipated expenditure for
I'm
reimbursing cards.
just pointing it out.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I'm pointing out that it is under consideration and not voted on, which I understand.
The
I think it
cards
would be
with the
worthy
city.
of a discussion if they say they will sell cards. It would definitely be worthy of a discussion on our part. And consideration, not just a discussion, consideration. If that's my opinion, and I can't speak for the board, but I think we ought to.
I would.
Yeah, we would need to speak about it and discuss it. So I hope they communicate it to us, that they would sell cards.
Any further discussion?
Hi, Richard McFarland, 3731 Middle Wakesburg Road. You're talking about utility costs you're projecting for your, I think both, you're talking about existing buildings and also for the new ones that you're going to be building. And you use Faith Oregon as a reference for that. And there's a couple things I'm puzzled about that because utilities are something where they can really change.
Yeah, I know.
And they can really be an impact. And they're like death and taxes.
I know.
That they're definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not used to working and also projecting, so
Yeah.
I understand that I don't use any experience with it. But what I was just gonna say is, when you're comparing 2 different states,
Right?
which right there, the comparisons can be wildly different, and also construction types.
Right.
Just in terms of pure, how they're insulated, are they old, are they
Absolutely.
new, are they
I know.
green, are they totally red, you know, whatever. And does that area need to be, I would wonder, and it's just off the top of my head, whether in the building trades, they would have more regionalized ways of effectively guesstimating.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, and this has been something that I've really been, I didn't just pluck that number and say, oh, here's a really nice number. I actually built those buildings in Baker, so I know what they are.
Okay.
And they are about the same size as exactly what we're looking at here. The population demographics is within, 300 of the same ones here. And those buildings, in fact, were built to standards that saved money, even though they were a little bit larger. And every building that we're budgeting our utilities for is going to be new. So, we're not paying for old and new. We're paying for new. And even the Burbank, which is an expansion of an existing, is going to have part of the remodel addressing the outrageous heating costs that we have out there. It's something that's just been terrible and is included in the whole project. So it's a best guess.
No, I really,
Yeah,
You've
and
told me
it's
a
a
lot just
really
by-
good question.
you've told me quite, if you know your other buildings that well.
I do.
So it's not just like you were comparing.
No, I didn't just go find something the right size and pluck
Yeah.
that number. I know each and every one of these buildings, and the main library is actually 50% larger than what our main one will be. And we have one more branch down there than we will have here. And even so, their total utilities are 5,000 less. So it just seemed like a really safe number as a place taker.
This is kind of, but it comes, it fits in the same time talking about potential, because of the fact that Columbia REA is now so aggressively shopping themselves around.
Running up Plaza Way?
Whatever, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, they came right through my farm last year with new service, so I'm very familiar with it. Have you been arm wrestling with them for all your locations where they have, because Burbank.
Where they exist, I'll let Josh answer that because that's his area of expertise.
Well, as far as not necessarily utilities, but the internet and things, I mean, Bob Green will call me.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
we have a really good relationship with them because we've
that's
done.
fine, just wanted to.
Yeah. It's a good company. We're glad that we're.
Mhm.
Architects, extremely green.
Yeah.
oriented.
Yeah.
Our architect is very
He knows our architect.
green oriented, so.
Yeah. And we're in some pretty old buildings that are draft year, not well insulated or whatever. And currently, except for Burbank, which in its remodel is going to get the proper insulation equipment and all the rest of that. So it feels like a safe number to me, and I appreciate you asking because that was one of the harder things to anticipate.
The 50,000 that's here this year is for the rent on Jade, on this place, and on Plaza, plus all the utilities.
Correct.
But you're still gonna have some pretty high utilities at Burbank until they get finished.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Correct.
And
But
you don't
this-
pay Prescott, you don't pay utilities in
No,
Prescott.
we don't.
But you pay utilities here in the Plaza.
Correct.
Do we just?
And in Tushy, yeah, you pay in Tushy.
Do we have the utility bill here? I thought it was just the rent.
Yeah, I guess it is for the heat, yeah. I know we pay for the
Okay.
phone and internet stuff.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But now, are you paying,
No.
No.
so this is, they're just letting you use?
Using
Yeah.
this room is at the grace of Coachman saying we can use it free.
Okay.
And on the record, we appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes, very nice.
It's made it easier on all.
We're here until he rents it, basically.
Yeah, okay, and
You're
so
not
your,
using it
your
anytime.
rental costs really aren't gonna go up next year. The 32,300 that you
No.
paid in rentals
No,
is gonna be still the same next year, and
yes,
50,000 includes the utilities?
yes.
Okay, all right. Well, it looks like there's probably not money for that then.
Okay, are we through with public comment? Board discussion and recommendations. Need a break?
We can,
My green tea
I'll take a, yeah,
Take a short
well,
break.
being on the road does it too.
Good catch on that 500,000 though, because I had caught that.
I'm the one that caught that, yeah.
Yeah, but when I looked
Yeah.
at that preliminary budget, I saw, you know what, I think that 500,000 is accounted for twice in those income figures.
That's right, it was. That's why we had a second preliminary.
Yeah.
You must be an old budget pro,
Oh,
Jackie.
yeah, I am, I love numbers.
That's good, that's good.
Wait till Andrea gets back.
Yes,
I think so, sure, yeah. Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
I think it was presented
I was
nicely.
gonna say, it's
you
very
did a good
thorough.
job. It's very nice to see
Isn't that
on
nice?
the overhead.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
And you should admire this brand new
I was
wonderful
gonna say, I don't think I've
portable.
seen that
I
screen.
know.
That's a nice
Josh
one.
found an incredible deal and bought one for every branch.
It's nice on mine.
We've enjoyed ours a lot at Tushy.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it just folds right up like a
Oh,
scroll, and then
oh.
you carry it by handle. It's phenomenal.
And
I was
it's
wondering
like
if that
cell
was,
edition, looks like a
But
flat
it's
screen.
nice
Sound
and
system.
wide for spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But doesn't that make it nice for, and I can actually guide you?
Mhm. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
They were less than $100.
Wow.
Seriously.
That's good.
I watched them for a while. I believe they were $88 or
Weren't they originally like 157?
150 was like the
Wow.
retail price.
They were going down.
I was watching it, yeah, because it kept going up and up, yeah. So I jumped when it was at what it looked like a low point. But
It's like stocks, right?
yeah, that's crazy.
The good news, guys, is once you get a whole year's worth of dealing with this in a more refined state, you'll be able to make really frog's hair predictions.
Tighter
Yeah,
review.
yeah. And then you'll just be able to, fine tune it every year and make decisions based on what you have to give up to get something, if you have to give
go
up
there.
something, if you have to go there.
Yeah.
Well, this makes it very clear.
Good, I'm
And
glad.
also, history makes it very helpful. So then next year, you're gonna have.
It will,
You're gonna
yeah.
have another year of history, so it's
Mhm.
gonna help all the time.
Exactly. But, some things got put into even funny places with the way the vouchers, were distributed because we had so many categories for books, and then when we had grant books that we had to buy, they went into the service center, and then when we got reimbursed for the grants,
Where does it go? Yeah.
we couldn't, we couldn't put it in as income, and it was just
Yeah.
weird. So,
Do you have a breakdown on the construction costs? That was the last item on the budget. You didn't discuss any of that.
I do. Sure. And it's right here. Oh, it's already open. All right then. Yeah, I
Is it
usually,
the
there it
second
is.
one there? Yeah. And this is the one you said is moving as we enter knowns, right?
Is what?
These figures change as you enter known things that happen.
Well, that's
right?
exactly right. These changed. We had a Prescott originally at 2,000 square feet. As you know, we have purchased a property now in Prescott. It's going to be probably 29, 28, and 150 of it's new, 125 is remodel. There are the costs there. There's the 44% represented by the sales tax, the FFE, the contingency, and the architectural services. So the alternate property away from our original idea is the value we have saved, even though we've added 884 square feet. So that represents that change. And we're looking at 2 properties in Tushy and haven't made up our minds. And here's a line that I've added to purchase a Tushy property if we purchase one of the alternatives. But we just don't know what we're doing there yet. And Burbank, we have added, it was originally budgeted 800 square feet, we've added 1,220 square feet to Burbank based on our public forums and what people said they wanted and how it fits in. And we have outstanding preliminary drawings that are about ready to go into developing the construction bid documents. It's really quite lovely. And so we're adding that much at the price of new construction, 150. So we're adding that to it, plus all of these 44% to add that much to it. So and that's how it's working. And then if we change any of the other numbers here, it changes these bottom line numbers. That's why I have the cost of the loan at 2.3. I have it at 1.8. I have it at 2.1, depending on what decisions we finally make.
So you don't have that loan yet?
It's what we've asked for.
Oh, okay.
Why would we want it yet?
Yeah, that's what we.
Well, but I mean,
I'm just budgeting
okay.
what is anticipated.
Okay.
If it doesn't, if we don't borrow 2.3, then it doesn't matter what I've budgeted.
Yeah. So right now you're looking at $5,704,165 total construction costs for the Central Library, Prescott, Tushy, and Burbank.
Correct.
But we're only looking, I mean, they're not hard and fast to it.
No, that's why I say you're projecting those costs.
The downtown library expansion project is budgeted at $7 million, and I assure you, if they do that expansion, they're going to be borrowing money.
Well, they'll be going to the voters for approval of that money.
Yeah, and if they do and they get the money, they'll be paying $2 million in interest. The voters have already approved our money, and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing with it.
Madam Chairman, I would like to move that we accept the preliminary budget as presented here today.
Second.
You can actually adopt the budget if you want. But
I think we'll do
Okay,
that.
you want me to
Can we
reword
do
that?
yeah, you can do that.
I move that we adopt the budget.
I second it.
No, I'm just telling you. Okay,
well,
okay, I moved it.
She's already got
Yeah.
her boots on her
Adopt it.
shoulders, she's ready to go.
Motion's
I know,
been-
I gotta go.
Motion's
The
been
fog's rolling
made,
in.
motion's been made and seconded to adopt the budget as presented for 2013. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Po-
And you
Oppose
can
the
always
same
make
thing?
changes by resolution. Any changes you need to make, just like we did this year, so there's nothing's ever set in stone. So.
Isn't that the
Have a
truth?
budget, hooray.
And Carol was listed as the signatory on this levy certification.
Yes.
I'm gonna pass this down to Ms. Peterson, and if you would write in the date of the public hearing, which is today, and if you would have Carol sign it and date it, that would be great.
Cool. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch out for the fog.
I know that fog's rolling in. It was coming in when I started, so I'm
Careful,
careful.
it's
I'm really, really
Sure,
glad you
too.
came in, dear, thank you so
Okay.
much.
See you guys later.
Really, yeah. Drive carefully,
Okay,
yeah. Hope that guy's better.
I know, poor thing.
There you go. The boy's sick.
Yeah.
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 Less infection, like a cold with infection.
Oh, just let you know how
Thank
good
you.
kids
Now
are.
I'll turn this in with a copy of the budget, and at least we're safe leaving.
Okay, it looks like we've covered everything on here, on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, we will adjourn at whatever time it is, 6:30, and we will be meeting with a regular December 10th.
December 10th in Tushy at 5 o'clock, to be followed by a public meeting at
6:30.
6:30.
In Tushi is the regular board meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
And the public.
At the school. It'll be at the school.
At the school, in the commons.
Right.
Oh, at the school.
At the school. Yeah.
We're all hearing it, but not.
Registered.
I've been in that school doing that.
Pardon? And then you're having a public meeting following that?
Yes, yes. It's been published.
Well, I saw the notice of the meeting, I didn't realize it was in Tushi. Or I didn't see what the public meeting was about.
Well, it's in Tushi because it is pertinent to our
Yes.
outlying
For the board
communities
meeting.
and it's a hearing on their libraries. That's why it's in Tushi, because that's a central location for people from Burbank and Prescott and Tushi to gather, rather than dragging them all the way into Walla Walla.
Okay.